Hi everybody, welcome back to another weekly craft video. This week we have a weaving activity for you. We are going to be making a set of these little woven coasters. I like to call these mug rugs, and you can use these to protect the surface of your furniture. So you're going to get everything that you need to make 2 of these coasters, and you can design them however you want. You can leave these little tassels on, or you can trim them off at the end. Let's get started. In your craft kit this week, you are going to get a bit of cardboard, some yarn, and a little loom needle that we printed using our 3D printer here at the library. At home, you're going to want to gather together a ruler, a pen or a marker, and a pair of scissors. You can make all sorts of things using a DIY loom and the weaving technique that we are going to show in this video. You can use it to make coasters, wall hangings, bookmarks, and even rugs. First, let's set up our loom. The loom is what you're going to use to hold your project while you weave it. Grab your ruler and a pen. Measure about 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom of your piece of cardboard. Next, we want to mark the location of our strings across the top and the bottom of the loom. Our strings should be at least 1/4 inch apart, and you want to be sure that you have an even number of strings on the top and the bottom. I've made 18 marks across the top, so I have an even number of spots for my strings. Now I'm going to switch over and make a mark in the same spot on the opposite side of my loom. Now I have 18 marks at the bottom and 18 marks at the top of my loom. Now it's time to cut a slit in each of the marks that I made. Now it's time to warp our loom. You can choose one of your 3 colors for your warp strings. The warp strings in this coaster are the green strings hanging off the end, and you can see the little green dots throughout my mug rug here. Take the end of your yarn, leave a little bit of a tail, and tie a knot. This knot is going to hold your warp strings in place while you warp your loom. Slide the knot behind the first slit on the top of your loom, and it should hold it in place. If you need to tie 2 knots or to hold in place, go ahead and do that. Next, you're just going to wrap the string back and forth around your loom to warp it, just like this. Make sure that you don't miss any of the cuts in your loom and that you go into every little slit just like that. And make sure that you have good tension on your loom strings so you can kind of strum them like that, like you would a guitar. Once we get to the end, leave a little bit of a tail, cut it off, and tie a knot to hold your string in place. So we've made our loom and we've warped our strings, just like that. Now it's time to start weaving. I'm going to start this one off with some green yarn. It can be a little bit difficult to thread this yarn through these loom needles. So what I like to do is drape the yarn over my needle and pull down to create this little point or this little bud of yarn. And I can easily push that through my loom needle just like that. The threaded needle and the piece of yarn that we're working with is called the weft. So taking our weft, we are going to begin weaving, and with this project we are just simply going to go under, over, under, over, under, over, and continue on that way until we reach the end. I find it helpful to pull it through about halfway and then continue on to the end. I would like to have a pretty thick green strip right here in my mug rug, so I'm going to pull out quite a lot of yarn just to give me plenty to work with as I weave back and forth. Alright, this should be enough yarn for what I'm going for. Now I'm going to use my fingers just to push this first row down to the very bottom of my project here. And I'm going to do the same thing each round, just kind of continuing to line up my project and my work so that I get a nice straight finished product. Alright, now I've completed my first row. I've used my fingers to bring it down into a straight line at the bottom, and now I'm going to weave back in the opposite direction. So last time I went over this string, now I'm going to go under it. Last time I went under this string, now I'm going to go over it. And you just continue on in that way until you're satisfied and you're ready to move on to the next color. You want to be careful not to pull too hard on your strings, because that can really pull in your project and you're not going to get a nice square shape. So be careful when you reach the end that you don't pull too hard, and you leave this just like that so it can be nice and straight when you go back and forth. Just avoid pulling too hard because it's going to warp the shape of your project. If that happens, it's alright, just use your needle to sort of push it back out into place and use your fingers to bring it down so you have straight rows in your weaving, just like that. Once you're ready to switch colors, you can weave in the ends now, or you can wait until you're completely finished and weave in all the ends at the end. I'm just going to weave mine in now. All I'm going to do is take my needle and bring it down through the side here and pull my ends through to hide the ends in and secure them. Now we're ready to continue on with a different color. So once you are all finished weaving and you've woven in your ends, all you need to do is flip it over, get these out of the way, and we're just going to cut straight down the center of these strings right here. And gently we're going to remove our weaving from the loom. Alrighty, and there we go. Now, so that our weaving doesn't fall apart, we are going to tie these ends together. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to take out this little knot that I tied right here. So starting with the two on the edge, I'm just going to take the first two and tie them together, and I'm going to tie two knots. One, I don't want to pull too tight. Oh, I'm having lighting troubles here. So I'm going to tie one knot and another knot, just like that. So I'm going to continue on just tying the two strings next to each other together all the way down, and then I'll switch to the other side and do the same thing. And here we are, we have our two mug rugs. I think they turned out really well. You can choose to trim these off or trim them shorter or leave them long. It's totally up to you. I decided to make two different ones, same colors but two different designs, but you can make two of the same design. And I hope everybody enjoyed this week's activity, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.